Hey everybody, we are back. Our third fucking video today, I think, maybe? Yeah, I think third video. Two of them were announcements, but fuck it. Why We Love Horror is back. And this time, I brought somebody interesting. Someone that isn't a huge fan of horror, as we may have seen with Watch Along a Creep Show. But he wanted to talk about a specific movie, and I went, what the hell? It should be a lot of fun. So I brought in a little boat himself. Fucking boat. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'll be honest. If I would have had to lay odds about how likely it is that I would be a guest on this show, would have been low.
Yeah.
If you and I would have bet like $1 on this, we could have been millionaires.
That is very fair. But I'm glad you're here, man. I think this is going to be... I think the movie you picked here is perfect for you. But before we get started with that, let's just get started. Since you aren't the normal horror guy, what's the first horror movie you remember seeing?
This is a great question. I'm the first one I remember seeing. I was not allowed to watch a lot of horror movies as a kid. My parents were not like your parents, and that they let you watch. What did they let you watch when you were like 4? There was some. Well, I know that you watched like Goodfellas at 3, but like,
Yeah.
I assume you watched like a lot of horror movies as a kid. I was the opposite of that. I was not allowed to watch a lot of horror films as a kid. So the first one that like is an actual horror film, not like Letterboxd lists The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad as a horror movie. I'm not counting that.
Fair.
The actual horror movie, first one I saw was The Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense. Oh, okay.
Sense.
I like
that. That was basically that was when I was first getting into movies.
Okay.
And I was like looking. I really like. In that era, my big like source for movies was Watch Mojo. Like that was, which now I'm not the biggest Watch Mojo because I don't think they really add anything to this. But when I was a kid, like, oh wow, I've never heard of these movies, like The Sixth Sense or Fight Club or yada yada. Like, because I was 14, 13. Like, but so the thing was. The video I watched was top 10 movie twists. Whereas they spoil the twists for the movie. But I said, oh, that sounds really cool. I want to watch The Sixth Sense. So I've never seen The Sixth Sense blind. I've never seen it like not knowing the twist.
Okay.
Not knowing the twist. Or knowing the twist going in. I love that movie. Because I thought it was so cool how they set up all the little pieces to where he doesn't. Like, I was just like, holy, that's because of that. And that's because of that. And that. And I was like, oh, the red on the door. And, she doesn't actually talk. Well, she looks like she's talking. I was like Leonardo DiCaprio Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like that. And I will still watch that movie, and I will still appreciate so many things about it. I think my favorite scene in that movie is the interview between Cole and Malcolm. Like the first, where it's like,
yeah,
if I'm right, take a step forward. If I'm wrong, take a step back. Like that.
I like that.
A great scene because you learn so much, but it's not in an expositional way. It's in a legitimate moment of dramatic tension. Like
that is true. That is very true.
Like, obviously, all of it went to Shyamalan's head, but
yeah,
with how good that movie is, I kind of understand why people were so quick to praise him. Because that and Unbreakable are great movies.
They were counting him as the next Spielberg in interviews, like after those two movies.
And yeah, and I honestly think if we go back in time and we stop whatever magazine publishing that headline saying him as the next Spielberg, I don't think his movies suck as much. I think that's the problem with Shyamalan is he started to actually believe he was the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
And he thought, I can do nothing wrong because I'm the next Spielberg. I'm going to write a character in the movie that is an evil critic that that hates the good writer, and I'm going to play the good writer.
One of my favorite moments of Sixth Sense is when Cole Sprouse is walking in the hallway and he looks over to the kitchen and sees the lady that he thinks is his mom.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking thing stuck with me forever, just turning around, because I had that type of hallway in the house I grew up in. That's exactly the same. The bathroom was to the fucking straight. If I looked to the left, the kitchen was there, and I never looked because of that moment.
That's where I'm similar. The scene that freaked me out as a kid was the girl in the tent.
Yes.
That's what got me, is the girl in the tent. That's a freaky scene. That's a good jump scare.
Oh, 100%. I agree on that. And yes, Jaws does count. Facebook user.
Yeah.
Say who you are, Facebook user, so I don't have to keep calling you Facebook user.
Jaws absolutely counts, or else I would have to change my answer for the next question. A question coming up, not the very next one.
So speaking of next questions, what are some of your favorite horror moments?
Okay, so I'm going to exclude moments from the main movie we're talking about, because honestly, a lot of my favorite horror movie moments do come from that movie. But excluding that,
what's up, Joseph?
Oh, hey, Joseph. The rule scene from Scream is like my number one. Randy from Scream is. I want to make sure, is favorite horror character a question, or is this favorite character thing for
the movie?
For the movie, okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and talk about him.
My favorite horror movie character is Randy Meeks.
Yes.
Because if we're being honest, I am Randy Meeks.
Fair. It's completely fucking fair.
But I love the rule scene. I love the rule scene in all Scream movies. Like, they're some of the best scenes in a Scream movie. Other great ones, I think, Get Out. I think I would have voted Obama for a third term is just an amazing moment. It's not really a horror moment, but like, it's a great moment in a horror movie. If you're going for more like horror moments, Misery, the hoveling scene.
Yeah. Like, to me, compared to the book and the movie, the fucking movie gets that part correct, because in the book, she chops his foot off, which is fucking horrible, but hobbling on screen is freaky to watch. That is
the movie knew how to sell it visually. They knew how to. That is just, and they don't dwell on it for too long. They put it there for like a second, so you see it, and then they cut away, and your imagination fills in the rest, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. Other ones I really like. I'm a big fan of New Nightmare, and I think if I had to pick a moment, I think I'd say Wes Craven. Just his kind of monologue. I think that one's really good. I would also, I would say one that's just really fun is The Dead Zone. I really like The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah, dude, Christopher Walken is awesome in that.
I love the ending of The Dead Zone. I won't say too much because not enough people have seen The Dead Zone, but I love Martin Sheen in that movie. And the final face-off between Walken and Sheen is so good because Martin Sheen is playing evil Jed Bartlett. He is the evil version of his character from The West Wing, and I love it. So yeah, that's really fun. Oh, final one, because I know I'm going a little long.
Oh no, keep going, man.
An American Werewolf in London. One of my favorite moments in that is when, obviously, like, the transformation scene is awesome, but my favorite moment is when he's trying to get himself thrown in jail.
Yes.
And then he's like, Shakespeare is French. One of my favorite moments. Last one. Cabin in the Woods. Anything with Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, but specifically
that's fantastic.
The whiteboard. Specifically,
yes.
You said zombies. They said redneck torture zombies.
It is so fun, dude. They make that fucking movie so believable and so much fun. Those two together are great.
That movie's brilliant. I stand by that. That movie's just brilliant. Also, just quick ending of the thing. It's obvious, but amazing.
Yeah. And Chris Hemsworth, man, in Cabin in the Woods, one of my favorite parts is when he's running away from zombies. He turns around and fucking clotheslines the shit out of him. Makes him do like a backflip for no reason. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, those are all great fucking moments. I love all of them, man. Great picks. Now, what would be considered your favorite horror movie?
I'm glad we're counting it as a horror movie. Hey, Mike, do me a favor. Look behind you.
Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws.
Yes.
Jaws.
Yes.
Easily my favorite horror movie. And I think you can find a lot of parallels between Jaws and the movie we're going to talk about. But I love Jaws because at its core, Jaws, well, on its surface, Jaws is a giant shark movie. And it's a fun giant shark movie.
Yes.
But at its core, Jaws it's a hangout movie. It's three guys on a boat talking for a lot of it. And there's so many stuff, like, obviously, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, and Roy Scheider are unbelievable in that movie. Just all of them. I love the Scar scene.
Oh, yeah.
Great, which would later get parodied in Chasing Amy.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of Chasing Amy is that.
Yeah. And I one thing I love, and we'll definitely talk about this parallel a little bit later, that the real villain of the movie is not the shark.
No.
The mayor.
Yeah, 100%. He is the ultimate villain of that movie.
And I have a weird pick for my favorite scene from Jaws. Because not a lot of people people quote this scene, but they don't love this scene.
Okay.
It's the ferry ride with the mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Just the ferry ride where he's like, you yell Barracuda. Everyone goes, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got panic on our hands on the 4th of July. You see how kind of despicable it is, but how he rationalizes it all. It's like, this is how this town survives. And you can see how he gets there. Like, he has a point. He isn't 100% wrong. Like, yes, the town needs that, but also people are gonna get eaten, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he has good intentions, but the very wrong way to go about it, especially after the first attack, and he's still trying to keep it open.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. But yeah, I 100% agree. He is the ultimate villain in that movie. The shark is in the water, man. The shark, that's his home. He's supposed to be there. The mayor should not be bringing people to the fucking ocean.
Absolutely.
Now we get to your pick. Now, this is a movie that has Max von Sydow and Ed Harris. Max von Sydow comes to a town called Castle Rock and opens up a shop called Needful Things, where when someone comes in, he asks, what do you most desire? What will make you happy? And they tell him. And instead of giving him money, he says, hey, just do this for me. Do this for me. And it just keeps increasing. And Ed Harris plays a fucking great sheriff and is trying to figure out what's going on. Yes, we are talking Needful Things. This fucking movie, man. This is a good pick. I was very surprised. Honestly, I was very surprised you picked this, but I'm so glad you did. Now, why did you go with this? Out of all the movies you could have gone with, like Jaws, for example, shit like that, you went with Needful Things.
Because either everybody's seen Jaws or everybody knows they need to see Jaws, right? You and me talking about Jaws isn't going to convince anyone who hasn't seen Jaws to see Jaws. At this point, like, they're going to watch Jaws on their own accord. Like, no one is like the obvious ones are obvious, and people know they need to see them, and they just haven't gotten around to them for whatever reason. This is a movie that is not on people's radar. This is a movie that is unfairly not on people's radar, because I think this is legitimately just a brilliant psychological thriller. It's a horror movie, but it's also like it's so psychological, and it's very much my type of horror movie. You know, it's not a giant slasher going around killing people. You know,
doesn't have bugs everywhere.
Doesn't have bugs. Thank goodness they don't have 12 beloved actors from 12 Angry Men having cockroaches climb into them and kill them from the inside. I literally can't even talk about it. It's gross. But Needful Things is just such a good movie. Ed Harris is like, he's Ed Harris, but he is just fantastic as this moral center. And I love the way Gaunt toys with everybody, right?
Yeah.
The way, and how Gaunt is clearly the instigator, but it's still everybody's fault.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, he is the catalyst, but they are doing it on their own free will. They're doing it because they want the object, and for some of them, they dislike the fucking person, so they're gonna do what they need to do.
It's a combination of, you know, they have to be willing to do whatever they want, or do whatever Gaunt wants in order to get the item, right?
Yeah.
That's bad enough. Is like, some of the pranks get pretty harsh.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to go that far. Some of them are more nice-spirited, but so they have to be willing to cause trouble and then lie about it.
Yes.
They have to be willing to do that, which is a combination of their greed and then their pride. Their greed not wanting the item so badly, and then their pride not being willing to admit that it's them after it starts causing trouble. And then, but it's also, I'm not going to let the people who have the pranks done on them off the hook, because it's also their fault.
Yeah.
It's their fault for assuming the worst of everyone. You know?
Agreed.
Like, you know, like when it starts with Nettie and Mrs. I'm going to look up her name because I can never quite pronounce it. Mrs. something with a W. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's Wilma.
Wilma, yes, that's her first name is Wilma. Wilma Jersey. That's Mrs.
Jersey. Yeah, Jersey. Yeah. There we go.
Like them. They just assume the worst of each other, you know? Yeah. When the turkey crap gets on the laundry, she immediately, with no, like, there's no evidence. Like, later Brian puts the apples in, which ties it back to Nettie. But before that, there is nothing. She just naturally assumes it is Nettie. And that's what it is. It's everyone assuming the worst of each other.
And that's how it escalates, especially with her story. It escalates very quickly into a very.
They already hate each other. And that's one of the reasons, like, I love this movie is that I love small town movies because I grew up in a small town. I love small town movies, and I especially love movies that showcase both the good and the bad of small towns.
Yeah.
Right? How things do kind of devolve into this petty factionalism and feuding, you know? And what this movie is like, some of those people, all it takes is a little push, you know, just a push. And then they turn on each other like that. They can say, oh, small town people are just friendly, but sometimes they have these preconceived notions about how terrible certain people are, that all it takes is one or two things and they're killing each other.
Yeah. just like the jacket and hitting the jukebox. Very tiny thing. Like, that's what I love about that story, is that how, like, just the kick of the jukebox and you see a little rustle, but you don't think anything of it. You went, hey, he's drunk. It's just that. But it's the anger that he has for him. But once he gets that jacket and once Gaunt tells him, hey, go ahead and do this, it just escalates to the fucking extreme with him that quickly.
Yeah. There are certain tropes in Stephen King movies, and like one of the biggest tropes is that the villain, like the let's call it the Jaws mare, right? The villain who is not the villain.
Yeah.
Is usually some type of either religious person or religious authority. Like Carrie, It, like the dad from It.
Yeah.
We could be here all day. Like it's even like non-horror movies like Shawshank. The real villain of that movie is the warden. Like,
yeah, 100%.
And I just the feuding between the Catholics and the Baptists, and how they're both so willing. Like they already just hate each other.
It starts off with the signs going up all over the church.
Yeah, like it starts out kind of at 11.
Yeah. Already.
Like, you can tell it's not going to take too much for them. But like the hypocrisy there, and I also love the first moment when Ed Harris walks into Needful Things. That moment when he walks in and he's like, what do you desire? Oh, I'm good, thank you. Like, and now God is just completely taken aback. Like, he's like, oh, okay then.
Yeah, he goes like, what am I gonna do now? You're ruining this shit for me.
Because he's content. He's happy. He doesn't. He's okay where he is, and that, to me, that's kind of the core message of the movie. Is partially, like, half of it is don't assume the worst of people, but the other half is like be grateful for what you have, and I think that works really well. And yeah, I just think this movie is just awesome. There's so many little psychological things and interesting characters. Like, we haven't even talked about probably the biggest villain of the movie besides Gaunt, Buster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Buster. Oh, that dude, so interesting. Just the nutcase. Like, you can tell, like, he is a powder keg, and all. If for some people it took a little push, all it took was a finger flick for Buster.
Yeah, and he just fucking lost fucking mind, man. Oh, what would be your favorite practical joke?
In the movie, it's turkey crap on the. Actually, no, it's not. That's my second favorite. My favorite is Nettie going to Buster's house and putting up all the citation, because is so awesome the way they line it up with In the Hall of the Mountain King perfectly.
And she's so happy to do it.
She's having
the biggest smile on her face.
She's just having a blast, and like, I love just reading the different descriptions on there, because there's a lot of good jokes just in those descriptions, besides like the obvious stuff of like embezzlement and fraud. There's so many just funny jokes within that, like, that really work. Cornholing your mother.
God damn.
But no, like, I think that scene is awesome, and the way they line up her putting up the posters to In the Hall of the Mountain King. It's awesome. Like that works. That is so cool. More movies need to use In the Hall of the Mountain King, because
I agree.
I can think of 2 movies, Needful Things and The Social Network, that have awesome scenes using In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Now, speaking of Buster, JT Walsh, a guy that I look at and go, he's basically the same character as he is in The Negotiator. A fucking dickhead guy like that.
He is the same character.
Yeah, he's basically the same guy, and that to me, like, out of all the characters in this movie, he is my favorite character because him going with the deputy, all the shit with the deputy, you just tell he's getting more and more pissed, and then by the end, he has a fucking gun out.
Nobody calls me Buster.
And my favorite is him tackling him into the fucking house. It makes no difference. I love it. He is so fucking. Who would be your favorite character?
Oh, my favorite character. It's the other side of that coin. It's Norris.
Yes,
Ridwick, played by delightful character actor Ray McKinnon. He's a lot of fun. He doesn't get like a ton of screen time, but the times he's on he's a lot of fun for me, and I love his back and forth with Buster, where he's absolutely making it worse. Like you can tell he's one of those guys who is right, but he needs to learn to shut up even when he's right.
Exactly. And then especially when Ed Harris leaves, and he's like looking at him going, now you're fucking mine, buddy. He gets kicked in the nuts within a second. It's so fucking great. Those two together are fantastic.
I think that's my favorite feud in the movie is Norris and Buster. I think that feud really works.
Oh, I agree. It is fantastic. So if you were in Castle Rock and you got to go to Needful Things, what would be the thing you desire would ask for if you visited it? What would be the one thing you would want if you got to basically pick anything?
See, I'm the type of person who wishes for if I encounter a genie, I wish for more wishes. I'm that type of person. So like I'm not gonna do one thing. I'm gonna pick like one thing that's actually like 1,000 things that Gaunt if Gaunt had this in his store, I would know immediately there's something wrong because no human being would have this. I want the entire Criterion collection. All of it.
I like
All of
that.
them.
That's fucking awesome.
And if he just starts like bringing up boxes like, oh, I happen to just have that, I'd be like, you just happen to have the entire Criterion collection in your basement. No.
It's just like, honestly, it's just like the kid where he goes Mickey Mantle and he has it signed for him. You're going, what the fuck?
At that point, I don't think Brian is the sharpest tool in the show.
No.
It's signed with my name, and it's an old card. At that point, I'm calling either the police or my mom, whichever one I feel is scarier at the moment.
I do think it's because he's so astonished by it and so like overtaken that he just doesn't fucking realize that this thing is impossible. This thing cannot fucking happen.
No, that's fair.
Any specific moments that stood out to you that we haven't brought up in the movie?
So I think I really like the fight scene between Nettie and Wilma. I think that gets real intense because they're both yelling, and if they would just listen to each other, they'd realize like how wrong they are. I
love Wilma's husband during that entire fight. You just hear him outside going, Wilma? He's so like fucking delusional about what's going on. It's hilarious.
Yeah. A little moment I love is someone stole my treasure island. Robert Louis Stevenson, first edition. That's a great moment.
That is good.
I think my favorite moment in the movie though is Ed Harris's speech.
Oh, yeah.
That just where he's like, this is a decent town. and he just takes everybody to task. You know, I think it's great. I think that's my favorite scene in the movie. I think Ed Harris's best acting. Speaking of acting, I just wanted to talk about. We haven't talked enough about Maxwell and Sydow. And Sydow. Oh man, did we not appreciate him enough while he was alive?
No.
Like, just look. This is on paper. If we're being honest, on paper, this is a nothing movie. Like, it's amazing. On paper, this is a nothing movie. And the fact that Sydow put so much dedication in this, like, just the way he smiles. Just the way he smiles is amazing. One of my favorite little moments is when Buster I think it's Buster. Maybe it's someone else. I don't remember who mentions Jesus. And he's like, "Oh, the carpenter from Nazareth."
I think that was Buster.
Yeah, I think that's Buster. That's such a creepy scene, but the way he plays it, he doesn't play it creepy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." Like, oh yeah, and I love another great moment. I love is the Reverend and the priest. After Wilma has died, both praying at the same time, but different prayers, basically trying to one-up each other with prayer. Amazing.
And that's what I think it comes back to, that small town of how they show the bad with the good, that these guys, even when fucking tragedy strikes, they're still fucking with each other.
They're still trying to one-up each other.
I like it. Now, the ultimate question is, you have Ed Harris as not necessarily the badass of this movie, but he gets shit done when he needs to. But if Ash Williams shows up, especially towards the end, after, the fire and everything like that happens, and Sydow comes walking out, Ash Williams, does Gaunt actually survive after that?
Here's what I think happens. Ash shows up, groovy, and Sydow goes, and Gaunt goes, "Not you again," and
and he's chasing them all throughout it. That's amazing. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I like it.
I'm not going to get a ton of views on this episode because not enough people have seen this movie. So watch this movie.
Yes, people need to watch this because
watch us talk about it.
This is an underseen Stephen King movie for sure. It's insane how underseen it is, because when you talk about any Stephen King movies, you got Stand By Me, you got Shawshank Redemption, you got Misery, you got the It movie. This one is really never in the conversation, and it's sad because this fucking movie is good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, and so many people haven't seen it. It's one I wouldn't have seen if I didn't have to study Stephen King. It's one of my favorite movies I've watched for movie trivia.
That is awesome that you got this from movie trivia. Mm-hmm. Because that's like, speaking of movie trivia, that I think is I would believe is the ultimate goal for most people when it comes to having to study for movie trivia, is finding these types of movies that you would never watch unless it's for studying, and then end up just falling in love with.
Oh yeah, the pleasant surprises are some of the best.
Now, at the end of each episode, I have someone come up and go, "What would you double feature with this movie?" Could be horror, could be any genre you want. What would you want to double feature with this?
I'll be honest, this was the question I had the hardest time figuring out, and I'm still not 100% happy with my answer. But I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna go for it, and you'll probably look at me like, "What?" And then I'll kind of explain as to why. Nebraska.
Okay, yeah, I definitely got to hear. Okay. I've seen the movie, and it's definitely interesting. So, why do you choose Nebraska?
I think both movies even though they're completely different genres, obviously,
Yeah.
both movies exemplify the cutthroat attitude of a small town, right? They're both about what happens when these friendly small town people are presented with something less than friend, or a situation where they have pressure to be less than friendly. You know, specifically how the family all kind of turns on Woody Grant when they realize he's winning the lottery, and they start basically getting ready to charge him for money. Like charge him, basically like, well, you owe me this, and you owe me this, and you owe me this. So that's Woody has done so much for you. Well, and like his own family tries to steal the lottery ticket, like that. It's crazy. Not the lottery ticket, but the certificate.
Yeah.
Like, and it's that's how it kind of reminds me of Needful Things, and that they're both about people being friendly small town people being put into situations where they show their true colors.
I like that. Like, that is definitely an unconventional like pick for a double feature, but I really like that. That's a good fucking reason.
It's so hard because I think there are very few movies like Needful Things.
Yeah, no, that is 100% true. And I kind of had the same problem as you did, trying to come up with a movie that I think would kind of work with it. And I went the more conventional route. I picked another Stephen King movie.
Okay.
I picked The Mist.
That's fair. No, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. I considered it. It's a really, if you're going for a more conventional horror movie, that makes a lot of sense.
It has a small town. It has characters that legitimately hate each other throughout the fucking movie, and it with that with everything going on in that movie, all of it comes to the front. Everything they hate about each other comes to the front, and it probably has one of the best horror endings almost ever. Like, it's fucking insane how that movie ends. And I the reason I chose it for both is that small town feel and how problems with characters in a small town come to the forefront when something else, kind of like Gaunt coming in there, but this one it's those fucking monsters in the mist that come in.
That's another one though. The quote unquote real villain is the crazy religious.
Yeah.
Marsha Gay Harden is so good in that.
Oh yeah,
she is so
like you want to punch her in the face.
Honestly, one of the things Stephen King is really good at writing is just super hateable character.
Yes,
he is so good at writing. Just, I think my number one most hated character of all time is from a Stephen King adaptation. It's Percy from The Green Mile.
Oh, yeah. Oh, god damn, man. You just want to kick the shit out of him throughout that entire movie. He is so evil, especially when it gets to him electrocuting, where he gets to be at the forefront and what he does.
Yeah.
Just so fucking evil.
Absolutely. But Stephen King is so good at writing just hateable characters. Like, the Warden in Shawshank. Absolutely super duper hateable. I'd say the parents from It.
Oh yeah.
Super hateable. I think King,
even the teenager, the bully.
Yeah, Henry.
Henry is just, but in essence, yeah, it's that when it comes to him, it's so easy to hate a racist guy like that to begin with, but to the extreme, especially I think it showed more in the miniseries than it did the actual movie of how hateful he can fucking be, because in the miniseries he goes fucking beyond. He goes insane. Like they kind of cool it down in the movie, which is understandable because it's new age. You can't say certain things, but in that he goes to the extreme. But I think that Stephen King, he knows how to write despicable people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you know what? I think it's time to wrap it up. Any other last thoughts that you have?
I just want to put in something fun and weird. This movie is directed by Fraser Clark Heston, or Fraser C. Heston, who is the son of Charlton Heston.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
Yeah, he's actually the son of Charlton Heston. He was the baby in the Ten Commandments. He was Moses'
shit.
10 Commandments.
So he grew up to direct Needful. I like that.
Yeah.
That is an awesome tidbit.
Directed Needful thing, and it's kind of sad. He didn't really do much else other than Needful Things. Only other one, he did an adaptation of Treasure Island with Charlton Heston and Christian Bale.
Shit.
He did a film called Alaska, which I've vaguely heard of because of the Siskel and Ebert review where they trashed the movie.
Fair.
And then he didn't really do too much else, which is just a shame.
Yeah, because he definitely has an eye.
Mm-hmm.
He has an eye for storytelling.
Well, like this movie, like just the score. I think the score is brilliant. Like, so many elements of this movie just work so well. Honestly, this is one. Even though the original is great, this is one of the rare times where I think an original is great, but I would be okay with seeing a remake. I'd be okay with seeing a different director take this on because I think this subject matter is just so ripe, like for a remake, for storytelling. I think this is like I'd be totally, especially you set it in today where people are kind of very, very quick to jump on each other.
That is very true, yeah.
Add that kind of layer to it. I think this story could even work better if you said it today.
With especially the technological aspects of the internet and stuff like that, cyberbullying, bringing in with the practical jokes I like that. You know, I actually agree with that.
You could do this. And to make it like different enough, you could never show Gaunt.
Yeah.
Honestly, Gaunt just has not completely shown like through like email conversations or phone calls even. Like, but you never actually see him. I think that would almost make him scarier, is never seeing him.
I like that. That is fucking awesome. I actually agree with that. But yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on. This was fucking awesome. Yeah. I'm glad you picked this movie because I haven't rewatched this movie in years, and it was so good to fucking come back and watch it. And give it a couple more episodes if you want to come back on and talk about another movie. I'm all fucking cool with that.
It might be a while because I'm going to find one that, people that isn't obvious that other people would maybe be more qualified to talk about.
That is fair. And we will have you on, though, next week. Yeah. You and Cody are going to be doing a bracket episode on Dustin Hoffman. That's going to be fucking awesome, especially with what happened today during our bracket episode. I'm looking forward to next week because fucking hell is going to happen. I can't fucking wait. Thank you for joining me. I would do music, but we're trying to change it up, get used to changing it up a little bit without music for now. But thank you for joining on. Everybody, please buy our shit. You see the logo down there? TeePublic, please buy it. And also, please, for the love of God, we're selling out here. Go to Twitch, a follow. We need 50 followers, man. I know you guys can do it. Please follow along. Boatman, we will see you next time, next week. I don't know. I think it's Wednesday we're doing it. It's going to be a good time, man. Thanks for coming on, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.
Music. This is the video store. It's not a bore. We got Mike Henley and